Let's get some more questions, Jim. We've gotten a few questions about the recent decline in popularity for the World Wrestling Federation, for WWE, no longer federated. This first one was sent to CornyDriveThru at gmail.com from Denny in Birmingham, England. With wrestling in free fall in terms of viewership and key demographics, certainly where WWE is concerned, do you think there would be any value added in WWE bringing back old school big names on a weekly basis on TV and guest matchmakers to advertise them on the show? Could Stone Cold be on TV one week while advertising Mick Foley for the week after, bringing back stars like Bret Hart, The Undertaker, The Rock, Hulk Hogan, Shawn Michaels as on-air guest general managers? Eventually,
I know Rock must be bored to tears now. He's been, home with, in the COVID for 9 months now. He must need something to do. I'm sure he's got a wide open calendar.
Eventually, the star talent would run out, but surely having current stars even verbally interact with former big names would do something better for the declining ratings.
No, that's what's got him in this position to begin with. For the last 10 years or more, every time Steve Austin and The Rock or people of that era come back, it just magnifies visually and emotionally and every other way how not over the current guy, the last guy they had that could hang with that crew visually and verbally and in front of people and look as if he came off at the same level as Cena. And maybe they've got a couple on the roster that could do it these days, but all I think about when I've seen these segments where these guys have come back is how much bigger and better and badder that most of them still look. My God, Billy Gunn looks like Andre the Giant, and fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger had a baby next to everybody on the AEW roster, and he's my age. So they got to a point where bringing those guys back from when wrestling was last really over and everybody remembers it so fondly, to me just magnifies how small, bland, boring, lack of development that these guys have had. Sometimes it's not their fault. They might have a personality. They're not allowed to show it. But just how in every way that everything's been squeezed and milked out of this whole business. And, I remember that one time it was Austin and Rock and Miz. And this was like 10 years ago. They did something. I said, half of America has to be going, who is that fucking small child standing in there in between The Rock and Steve Austin?
The one that got me was years ago at WrestleMania. They had the return of Piper's Pit with Steve Austin. You're like, oh my God, what could this be? And then in the middle of it, Carlito walked out.
Oh God, yes. And it's not even fair to those guys. And also remember the reason why we're in this sorry mess is because they've done nothing to make the talent that could be interesting on their roster interesting, and they've picked a lot of talent that wouldn't be interesting no matter what they did with them. And then they bring out people who are over from the past when the buildings were red hot and the fucking shit was over and these guys were over, and it just diminishes the modern guys even further. And sometimes it's not even their fault. So, here's another tool in the wrestling toolbox that they've nullified and made meaningless is bring in a legend or a veteran to get a young guy over. Well, and then when they do bring remember the tear they went on for a while, years. Every time they'd bring a veteran or a legend out, they'd make him look like a fucking goof. And then now when they bring the legends and the veterans out, they look so much better than the current talent. It does nothing. They've never figured out how to do this right. We just talked about with Bobby Heenan, and I figured it out in about 4 minutes. How a legend can get a new guy over. Nobody looked particularly stupid in that exchange. Everybody was themselves and came out looking more positive.
At this point, bringing someone like a Bret Hart or a Shawn Michaels or a Mick Foley or The Rock or whoever it may be, it's a Band-Aid. And you need something more than that.
Yeah, until they get somebody to do something with their current talent that's different and interesting enough that people will start watching again. Then when you're going in that direction and there's already guys you have on the roster that people are half-ass interested in to begin with, then you can help them along with something like that. But not right now. It would just be, like, oh, look, there's Sting. He's back. Holy shit. Let's watch next week. Hey, there's Sting again. He's back again. He didn't do much more, did he? Maybe I won't watch next week. Next week, down 150,000 viewers. Something like that.